IT service sector in Central Eastern Europe is thriving. IT and digital competence centers, both captive and outsourcing ones, are an important part of the ecosystem. What has been the fuel of their growth? What will propel them in the future? What are the best growth and development strategies for companies and for Central Eastern Europe IT professionals themselves? We will hear it from Szymon Araczewski in his virtual keynote closing speech. Yes, we can see you now, Szymon, so please do start.
Hi.
We're waiting for you.
Excellent. Good afternoon. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Excellent. So, thanks for having me. I hope you have all had a lot of interesting meetings and fruitful discussions in the conference. So my name is Szymon Araczewski, and I'm joining you from Warsaw today, from Poland. I've been active in the Central Eastern Europe IT market for quite some time now, and I have lived what was happening on this market, and there has been a lot happening. So today I would like to talk to you and discuss with you where particularly the IT competence center market of Central Eastern Europe is, what is ahead of IT competence centers in Central Eastern Europe, and what is in it for IT professionals such as ourselves who work in Central Eastern Europe. As I represent Bosch Group, before we dive deep into the subject matter, I would like to share some glimpse of what Bosch does with you and why I actually feel entitled to speak about the topic of today's subject at all. So you surely know the household name Bosch. Bosch is a company with a lot of tradition, actually nearly 140 years of tradition, mostly in hardware business. So you surely know Bosch from power tools, from home appliances, household appliances, such as washing machines, dishwashers, other appliances that you might have at your home. Many of you may also associate Bosch with the car industry. You have seen this short video before the presentation. So Bosch manufactures a wide variety of car parts and has developed, for instance, such systems as ABS or ESP, so systems that actually save thousands of human lives every year. So what you may not know, as a matter of fact, is that Bosch is also a software company. We are redefining ourselves and our products, and we are becoming an AIoT company, combining the power of AI with the Internet of Things, so software and hardware working together. Now, this, just to prove it with some data, shows also in this slide. You see that Bosch employs nearly 400,000 associates worldwide in 440 subsidiaries, 60 countries. And nearly 10% of that, 34,000, are software developers. So we are actually a large software company. And this is no surprise, given the fact that we are actually digitizing and transforming a number of everyday sectors, everyday industries, starting from mobility solutions. So not only automotive industry, but also other modes of transportation, such as e-bikes, going through industrial technology with Industry 4.0, through energy and building technology, to, last but not least, consumer goods, such as power tools, such as home appliances that become also growingly digitized in the course of bringing up the concept of smart home. So what is important from the perspective of today's discussion of ours is that Bosch has been building these digital competencies and IT competence centers in Central Eastern Europe for many, many years. And I have had the pleasure to be a part of this journey. Today, I am responsible for ramp up and presence of IT competence centers in nearshore locations, particularly prominently in Serbia and in Poland, where I live on an everyday basis. And this ramp up of these centers in Bosch has been quite a huge journey, not only for myself, not only for Bosch, but also for many other players who are present in the market. So let's first have a look at the history and the current status of our part of the industry. Let's first try to define what actually an IT competence center is. So I define it as an organization that delivers IT services to customers, either internally in a captive environment, such as a large corporation like Bosch, or to external customers. And actually, a large part of this industry, of the sector, is somewhere on a cross-section of two areas. On one hand side, you have business service centers, business service sector, so outsourcing organizations or captive organizations that deliver to their internal or external customers business services, and as a part of this, IT as well. And so this is what you see on the slide on the left-hand side. And on the other hand, you have also the digital and IT tech sector, technology sector, that contains startups and scale-ups and other companies that deliver actually end-to-end solutions. And if you have a look at Central Eastern Europe, the growth of both these areas has been massive over the past 10, 15 years. So what does massive mean in practice? I mean, we are in a conference that revolves around data. You are all data-driven people. So let's have some data talk to us and tell us the story of those two areas, those two sectors in Central Eastern Europe. Here's the first slide I wanted to show you. This shows the example of Poland and shows the employment in business service sector throughout past years. It shows a timeline of 2013 to 2020 of what has in the meantime become the largest sector of Polish economy. So you see that, as a matter of fact, if you went left of this slide, you would see it was starting from zero, from null, and over a time frame of 10, 15 years has built up a large sector of economy with compound annual growth rates that are double digit. From one year to another, every year, double digit growth, on average, nearly 16%. So this growth began for many countries in Central Eastern Europe 10, 15 years ago. There is no single point of time that it kicked off, but you could also attribute this to the first countries entering the European Union in 2004. And this pattern that you see on the screen is quite similar. I mean, I took an example of Poland, but it's quite similar also for other countries of the region. Now, if you have a look at the tech industry, this is also quite a massive growth. So here you see not the business service sector, but the tech companies, understood as startups, scale-ups, some unicorns, some even decacorns that we in the meantime have in Central Eastern Europe. And you see that in a time frame of barely 11 years, the valuation of this market has grown 19 times. This is skyrocketing. This is really immense. And one could ask oneself a question. So what has been actually the fuel of this growth until now? So at first, of course, it was labor cost arbitrage. So if we have a look at some years ago, labor costs at CEE countries were significantly lower than in the countries of, for instance, Western Europe. But let's face the truth. On one hand, it is still so. There is a significant difference. But at the same time, labor costs in European countries, they are converging. So this cost incentive of locating IT services in the countries of our region is getting weaker over time. This is for good and for bad, of course, because the good news is for associates. And also this is clearly a strong motivator for us to become the best in what we do. But at the same time, it must be clear that the competitive edge of Central Eastern Europe countries as a destination for locating IT services must be redefined over time. So what got us here won't necessarily get us further. Myself, I've been, so whenever I was like advocating for locating certain IT services in Central Eastern Europe countries, I was always saying, come for low cost, but stay for high quality. and this is something that I think holds true very much. Due to availability of qualified IT professionals, qualified workforce, and this is especially important for organizations in the times of war for talents. So let's have a look at some data about the talent pool of CEE region. The first driver here is the sheer population of the country. So again, just to calibrate our judgment, just to understand where we are standing, the Central Eastern Europe countries, excluding Russia, they are overall over 170 million people in population. To compare this, to have some perspective, EU member states, they are nearly 450 million people. So it is clear to see from these data that it's a significant talent pool that is not to be overseen by the customers in Western Europe. But what is even more important, I think, is the structure of the population and structure of workforce. Look at this slide. On the left-hand side, you see the age pyramid of Western Europe, and compare this with Central Eastern Europe. You might not see the detailed numbers here. They are very small print, but here you will see the age range of digital natives. So the population, the part of the population which is the most significant for IT companies. And you see clearly that there is a peak here in Central Eastern Europe countries, showing that we have, as a matter of fact, a younger population and a population that fits very well to the demand of IT competence centers. This shows also in some data about education, so the output or the supply of talents out of universities. There is a strong supply out of universities, especially in the area of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics. There is a lot of supply of talents to the market, but we have to be fair as well here that, as a general rule, I don't want to generalize in a faulty manner, but as a general pattern, the academic world in Central Eastern Europe delivers good quality of fundamental educations, so solid mathematics, nature sciences, etc., but is a little bit behind the Western educational system in terms of vocational education. So we get a lot of raw talent, but this talent needs to be also shaped then within the organizations in the professional life. And at the same time, I would argue that the educational system of CE countries needs to also do a little bit of the homework in terms of speeding up, adjusting the curriculum to the demand of the business. This is something that shows very much on this slide. Here's some research talking about AI programs in EU countries. So you see that the CEE countries that are marked here with yellow, they are not adjusting the number of programs, AI programs, as fast as the Western countries in terms of, well, adjusting to the increased demand of corporate environment. So much of the data of what's got us here and more or less the status of the industry today, but we've discussed the past and we are interested in the future. So let's first of all think whether the discussion about CEE competence centers and CEE market makes sense at all in the times that we have right now, in the times after coronavirus crisis struck and after remote work has proliferated so much. So in these times, it has become much easier to hire and get hired across the world. So does the discussion about any local IT ecosystem make sense at all? And I know that some of you may disagree, but I think it does. So although myself, I'm a huge fan of remote work, I do it a lot. I think also that the shift towards remote work and general adoption of remote work has had an overall positive effect, as it took a lot of nonsense from our everyday life as IT professionals. But still, I believe that location does matter a lot when it comes to the ecosystem. And if you want me to prove this, let's make a simple mental experiment. So take any town, any city from your neighborhoods, can be Timisoara or Novi Sad or my hometown of Toruń in Poland, 200,000 people. And let's ask ourselves a simple question. Can we put an equality sign between this town and the Silicon Valley in terms of the environment for IT organizations, in terms of the environment for IT professionals? So, of course, the boundaries have blurred a lot, but I think even if there is a less of a gap between Novi Sad and Timisoara and the Silicon Valley still stays Silicon Valley. It is still a different ecosystem, not only because of saturation of capital, but also due to the fact that exchange of ideas, developing ideas, does stay and will, in the foreseeable future, also stay more intensive locally, simply put. So I think per reductio ad absurdum, it proves that location, geography, and local ecosystem still do matter. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm taking this assumption now that we move forward with the presentation for the sake of the argument. So let's think now about the future. And what I'm going to try to do is make some hypotheses. So my point of view regarding what are the future success factors from two perspectives. From the perspective of organizations, so what should the best organizations do to thrive, but also from the perspective of associates. And it's my digest, it's my selection. I hope we can also have some discussion later on about how you find it. So the first success factor that I see for organizations, for IT Competence Center, is still mastering hybrid work skills. We are long in the remote work setup. A lot has changed, but I think a lot has to be done still in terms of mastering hybrid work skills. It is very important for the organizations for a number of reasons. The first one is, of course, availability of talent. So the larger metropolitan areas of CE countries, they have over time become a little more crowded, but there is a lot of unleashed potential in smaller cities, in second, third tier metro areas of CE countries. And hybrid work helps to tap into these largely unexplored talent pools. But also, it is important to have clear and satisfying policies for hybrid work to stay competitive on the market. Because as we all know, there is a lot of discussion. This is a topic, I mean, the topic of remote work and hybrid work is extremely polarizing for IT professionals. There are strong opinions both ways, both pro and con. And the objective of organizations is perhaps not to cater to everyone's expectations, but it is clearly to have happy, healthy, and productive teams. And with a focus on teams, not groups of mercenaries, if you will. So I still see that there is a lot of challenge around making this happen throughout the industry. The second area where I would argument this is something that will tell in the future good organizations and the average ones is the ability to build a talent pipeline. So universities, they deliver raw talent, if I can say so. So associates that still need to be shaped in the organizations. And again, the system in CE countries delivers solid educational foundation in the academic sense of it. But a lot of actually knowledge transfer and build-up of skills happens within the organizations, and the good ones will definitely make sure that they have on one hand senior associates, seniors with not only strong technical skills, but strong interpersonal skills and the ability to mentor and coach others. And on the other hand, they will have also juniors with natural aptitude and potential ability and willingness to learn. The next area that I would like to bring attention to is working with local universities. And as a matter of fact, I think this is an area which is especially important in such areas like data science, AI, where there is, I mean, these areas are very science heavy by definition. It's not a question of building up your know-how in a short cycle with trainings, with boot camps, with the Udemy and what have you. It's a question of very, very deep and solid collaboration between the corporate environment and the academia, the university environment. And at the same time, the cycle of adjusting to the needs of the market is quite long. It takes a few years between the change of the curriculum and the moment of time when universities can supply people with the right skills that will go there to the labor market and thrive on this market. So I think there is a lot to be done on both sides, universities and corporate environment and other organizations, to make sure that there is a good adjustment here. Last but not least, from the perspective of, again, IT competence centers, I think it is very important to stand out, to be visible on the market. This is something that we have seen on many markets of CEE. Once they were becoming mature, it was the largest, the most prominent organizations on these markets that sustained, that had also the ability to sustain for the future. So I think this is also one of the aspects that successful organizations should have a look at. Now, how does this look from the perspective of associates themselves? The first point I want to bring attention to is engaging in local communities. So you might wonder why this slide, what do the birds do here? So these are birds flying in a V formation, and you might know that in a V formation, it's in the interest of the whole group to fly together, right? Because the strongest of the species, they go first and they pave the way in terms of aerodynamics. But then they change with the others, and actually it's mutually beneficial. It's beneficial for every bird that is there in this V formation. But I don't want to give you a pep talk right now. It's probably something you have heard in many team motivational speeches. What I want to say is that the same principle, in my opinion, applies to the whole sector, to the whole ecosystem of IT competence centers. And I've seen it in many ways. So I've seen how people really benefited from meetups, conferences, being present in a local community and being outside of their home organizations. So there is tremendous opportunities of development and exchange of best practices, not only in terms of technical skills, but first and foremost in terms of processes, management, how to thrive in the business environment that we have in so many organizations in CEE. So I truly believe that being present as an IT professional in such communities is beneficial, and I can only hope that the situation around COVID will become better over time, so nothing will slow us down or otherwise stand in the way of community building in CEE cities. The next topic, staying curious, might sound obvious in IT. It's obvious that in our industry, it's by definition lifelong learning. But I think again that especially in IT competence center environment, it is of high importance, especially in the mature ones, because IT competence centers, they quite often offer a good degree of safety and security, which is great because a safe environment, and particularly emotionally safe environment, is the best environment for us to develop, as long as we keep ourselves challenged and that we do not settle for what we already know, for the technologies that we know. It's easy to become a master of yesterday's game, and through this not harvest all the opportunities. So still, looking at the positive sides, I think IT competence centers, especially the ones of large organizations, are again a very promising environment, as they are usually, well, a large organization that offers a lot of lateral development opportunities. They cover a lot of technologies, cover various businesses, and through this also offer opportunities to take perhaps a more disruptive step in the career, change the technology, change your tech stack or your area of expertise radically, while at the same time maintaining this security of a large organization, the one that it brings. Also, the ones that are well managed, the organizations that are well managed, they value such interdisciplinary experience. But at the same time, I just want to encourage you that you stay conscious about this, that you maintain this state of mind to stay always hungry for more and curious. This is a very rewarding mindset in the long run. Last but not least, join the best. Especially in areas of data science, AI, these areas are resource intensive. So join an organization with good funding, either a well-funded startup or a renowned corporation, but join also an organization with the best experts on board, because it's like a self-propelling thing. IT is all about learning from each other, and the rule is A players attract A players, while B players attract C players. So joining a strong organization with A players will surely help you grow as a specialist and as a person. So much from my end. I would be happy to open the floor for any discussion or questions now.
Thank you, Szymon. Do we have any questions here? Yes, there's one question. Let's wait just for the mic. It's on its way.
Hi, Szymon, and thank you for the nice presentation. One question from my side. In the name of all young people in IT industry in Serbia, could you name 3 good reasons why Bosch is a good employer for IT talent?
Well, first of all, it's a very large organization with a lot of opportunities, a lot of potential career moves that you can take as you move forward. So for me personally, it's been like 15 years for me in the organization, and even more, over 20 years if I take also the time that I was not yet an employee but working with Bosch. And it's always been an adventure. It's always been like new topics. It felt like a change of career every year and a half or 2 years. So it's good food for thought. That would be reason number 1. The reason number 2 is clearly corporate structure. It's a company, not structure, but culture, sorry. It's a very mature corporate culture with a lot of, again, emotional safety, with very modern leadership, despite of 140 years of tradition. And also, I think, a culture that promotes collaboration rather than competition, which might resonate with you, might not, but for me personally, it's been a big value in itself. Reason number 3, I feel a little bit limited with having just 3, but I would say if I'm only given 3 tokens, then come and see. Join us.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? May I have one? What is by your opinion, what is the state of market of IT professionals in Central, East, and East Europe?
So I think I at least partially tried to answer this question in the presentation itself, but let me just distill one thing out of what has been said. I think it is very important to redefine ourselves at the moment of time that we are at. So in the past, it's been again fueled by labor cost arbitrage, by availability of talent, and this was perhaps sufficient as a fuel of growth. But at the same time, I think we should redefine the market in such a way that we are not looked at as an opportunity to manage your costs, but clearly deliver value for the organization. And there is a huge potential, huge talent that is out there. It's a matter of organizations being able to tap into that properly. Don't know if this answered your question, if this was the intent of the question. If not, then please elaborate.
I will add a little bit more. I mean, I'm hearing here and there from those who are hiring that the price of the labor of IT professionals, I mean, depends. The countries with a low price come in fashion, but when they come in fashion soon, the prices go up and then everybody's looking for another country. Is it too expensive now is it getting too expensive to hire people, IT professionals in Central and Eastern Europe?
If anybody anywhere tells you it is easy, they're probably having no clue what they are talking about. It's a global phenomenon that there is shortage of IT specialists and the war for talents, clearly. At the same time, I would say that CEE countries, they still have a lot of sustainability in them for a number of reasons. Two of them, the two most important ones that I see, are good quality of this educational system. Again, with some caveats, with the caveat that perhaps the vocational education is not as strong as it should be, but at the same time, the fundamental academic education is very, very strong, and this gives CEE countries a lot of, say, room to maneuver as we are moving forward as well. The second reason is that there is still a lot of areas that are not as, I would say, penetrated by IT industry as they can be. So I'm talking about, again, second and third tier cities, quite often cities with university centers. Sometimes I compare this war for talents to like drilling for oil, right? If you drill for oil, you first drill to the pools that are shallow, that are easily accessible. And only then you start drilling deeper to the pools that are perhaps a little less accessible. And I dare say that in CEE, we have, for the past years before COVID, not drilled to those deepest pools yet. And now, with proliferation of hybrid work, I think there is a lot of unleashed potential that helps us sustain.
Yes, but are you drilling deeper in order to find cheaper oil or what?
Good oil. Again, I think we should not only look at the labor cost here. Again, it is still, market shows, it is still lower than in Western European countries or in the US, substantially lower. We are talking about not 10, not 20%, but more. At the same time, I think from the mindset perspective, what we should do is not talk costs only, but talk value creation. And in order to do that, I think we should also work on those skills in our part of the world that can help us deliver this value. So I'm talking here about solid business understanding, how to not only create technology, but also how to shape business with the with this technology. I'm talking also about management skills, soft skills, everything that goes together with not only creating technology, but also transforming business and transforming communities with this technology.
Finally, I mean, that's my last question. I don't know if anybody else would like to ask another one. With such a shortage of IT professionals, you have headhunters all over the place luring especially young ones with all kind of incentives to switch the company and go to some, I don't know, to some better position, whatever. What would be your advice to someone? I mean, how long would it be good to stay at one place in order to develop yourself in the best possible way?
From the perspective of associate, you mean, or from the perspective of organizations? I didn't quite get the question.
I was thinking an advice to a young IT professional from any perspective. I mean, as a mentor, what would you say to somebody who is coming and telling you, I'm getting a better proposal from someone else? I mean, it's better money, it's whatever. But what would you say about his personal or her personal development? How long should you stay in one position in order to get most of that, to learn most?
So I think this is very individual. So again, everyone might have different expectations from the perspective of development of careers. Some will look for vertical development, other will look for horizontal. I think as a general rule, what I personally enjoyed is changing something substantially in my scope of responsibilities or tasks every 1.5 years, every 2 years. And I think good organizations will make sure also that associates have an opportunity of making such steps, be it vertical or lateral, on regular basis without really changing the employer. So let's differentiate between two things, changing the employer or changing the scope of duties. Regarding what you said about the competition with conditions or salary or bonuses, that's market. That's wild rules of the market. I think there is no way out for any organizations simply to adjust to what market does. But let's not forget that these factors, they are more hygiene factors than really something that in the long run we will look at when developing ourselves, when looking at lifelong career in IT.
Okay, if there is there anybody else who wants to ask the question? If not, I would like to thank Szymon for giving us this closing keynote speech. It was great to hear and have this overview of the state of IT profession and IT industry in Central Eastern Europe. Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of the event.
I hope you can hear the applause.
Thank you.